Hello there, and welcome to Reach for Power, where we take a closer look at the power itself and the strategies to build it. I am your host, Monika Kruk, and in this episode, we will focus on the most popular question that I get in my executive coaching practice, that is, how to secure a new role. Let me share with you the 7 steps to success. Point number 1. Make sure to invest your time wisely, meaning to choose those activities in terms of looking for a new role that have the highest return on investment, where the key element that you are investing in is your time and energy. Whenever I start a new executive coaching process, the one focused on finding a new role, I always start with the question, what have you done so far to secure this role? And effectively, in 9 times out of 10, I applied to job openings on LinkedIn, Glassdoor, Indeed.com, and other similar pages. Helpful as it might be in terms of understanding market trends, understanding where industry is going, identifying certain role descriptions, identifying the expectations for certain roles, I have a shocker for you. This strategy does not work anymore. Full stop. I know it is a shocker, but when you think about it, it makes perfect sense. First of all, you are up against a lot of candidates. In other words, you have to compete with dozens, if not hundreds, of other people. Secondly, you are up against bots and all other automated systems that check your CV prior to any human being laying their eyes on it. Effectively, it means that unless you are skilled in using certain search phrases and words, you will be overlooked and you will land in a trash bin sooner than you think. I had my coaches describing a situation in which they have sent out a CV to a certain position to which they were clearly fully qualified to receive a negative answer in a matter of seconds, not even minutes or days. It is clear that it is an automated algorithm that refused their application. So to sum up, tracing job offerings within your industry is definitely an interesting exercise to broaden your horizons and to have some contextual awareness in terms of what's going on in the competitive companies, but it should not be the only way in which you are looking for a job. Actually, it should be one of the minor paths to the new role. So, what is the key path then, you ask me? Well, key path starts with point number 1, clarifying your goals and focus. What this specifically means is that when you do your job right in terms of looking for your new role, it's actually extremely time consuming. As a result, you need to make sure that the way how you invest that most scarce resource is actually as effective as possible. As a result, you need to focus, you need to narrow down your search. How to do that? Effectively, have a look at several dimensions that might help you make your search razor sharp. Point number 1, think which industry you would like the next role to be in. In some cases, you might want it to be a logical continuation of what you have been doing so far. In some cases, you will be considering a pivot. In some cases, you might be looking at several industries which are appealing for different reasons for you. In terms of narrowing down your search, also focusing on geography, meaning in which country you would like to work, might help. This is because some of the companies do not have a multinational or global footprint just yet, and choosing certain company to explore would automatically mean that it will imply relocation or the need, for example, to change the region in which you are located in the given country. Element that you might also take into consideration is the role description itself. Which company or which industry contains in their descriptions the elements that you are most interested in, the one that you find most fulfilling, the one that you are interested in developing for yourself. And of course, all other characteristics that might play specific role for you. For example, the expected amount of payout, the expected access to personal development, to trainings or opportunities to travel, whatever rocks your boat, so to speak. The key point here is to create a list for yourself of certain characteristics that are important to you that the future role should meet, and then checking different companies and different opportunities versus this list to make sure that you are not shooting randomly in the dark in terms of your levels of interest and pursuit, but you keep rather focused strategic outlook on your search. General step number 2 is after you have narrowed down your preferences in terms of the industry, specific companies, or even better, the specific roles, then research the hell out of those companies, products, and roles. By this, I mean go through the company webpage, explore product catalog, read their financial statements or financial reviews if they are being published. Read any opinions that you would be able to find either in social media or in the job search platforms. Grab as much information as possible. Point number 4, identify decision makers. So those people who either will be involved in making a final decision in terms of hiring somebody for the role that you are interested in, or at least the people who have access to those decision makers. Then strategize on the way to get in touch with them. And let me warn you here, this is effectively a type of networking which we discussed in a separate episode. And again, as any networking, it is a long game to play. You might start with the same strategies that we discussed earlier on, like for example, good old flattery, following person in the social media, commenting on their posts, using compliments, etc., just to get their attention. You might then reach out with some well-timed appreciation or personalized message. Do not start with asking or pitching. That time will come. Start with building a relationship. Point number 5. As you manage to identify those decision makers and you started to get in touch with them, leverage this opportunity to gather more information. It might be that on your path you are dealing not only with the decision makers themselves, but also people who have access to them, as I mentioned. Use that as a learning opportunity to understand, for example, what might be the challenges that companies going through, what sort of questions might be keeping the CEO awake at night, so to speak. Gather as much info as possible. Why? Because that will become super helpful in the next point, which is all about focusing on delivering value. And by delivering value, I understand coming up, well, quote unquote, with your pitch, but not the one oriented only on you, your deliverables, and your credentials, but the one focused on delivering something for the company that you would like to work on. Examples are numerous and would depend on what is your scope or what are your strengths. But I've seen, for example, in case of my coaches, different presentations describing solving certain issues that the company might have in their opinion, or proposing certain new solutions and innovation proposals. All of it is to showcase that you can bring value to the company almost immediately. It also signals that you are interested enough in this specific organization to research it, even though you are not hired by them just yet. It also showcases that you are ready to hit the ground running if you get hired, and it is also a brilliant way to demonstrate your strengths in a very relevant way, which will make it appealing and meaningful for potential recruiters to meet with you. Through your network, which we mentioned in the previous points, you can then share this solution-oriented pitching with a proposal to elaborate further during a session with the people whom you think might be the ones making the recruitment calls. When you would be able to secure that meeting, prepare for that interview. The strategic side effect of this path that I've just described is that prior to the interview, you land with a whole selection of materials related to the company, meaning you know their products, you know what the company is all about. You hopefully were able to identify certain developmental directions or maybe some problems that you can help solving. So, in other words, you almost enter the interview room already prepared. What you can do on top is to also do similar meticulous research around the people whom you are going to talk to. Try to understand what sort of roles they occupy within the company, what are their interests, what are their strongholds, what topics they might want to discuss, what sort of issues might be at the top of their mind, so that you make this conversation as relevant as possible. Last point of this strategy is effectively rinse and repeat, meaning leverage the same framework to whatever next company you would like to pursue. Of course, it might happen, and by the way, in more times than you would have expected, that you will land the role after first such exercise. However, different elements might come into play. Freezes in terms of recruitment, lack of role which matches your strongholds at this particular moment. So, in other words, you need to be ready that you will have to repeat the process several times. This said, considering all the positive side effects of this process, considering the fact that it gives you completely new networking opportunities, that it's effectively opening up doors for you in more ways than one, it's much more effective and at the end of the day, much more efficient than just sending your CV out to be killed by the bots or algorithms within the company. If you liked today's episode, please subscribe to have regular access to the newly published content. You are also welcome to check Reach for Power webpage at reachforpower.com for more materials and share your thoughts and comments with me through LinkedIn. Thank you for joining me today and keep on reaching for power and looking for new roles.